What if the goal is not to raise a completely screen-free child, but to raise a child whose brain gets enough of the real-world experiences it was built for? Because here's the part most parents are not told. When a child spends less time on a tablet, phone, TV, or gaming device, the benefit does not come from the empty space alone. It comes from what fills that space. More movement, more eye contact, more boredom, more pretend play, more problem solving, more sunlight, more family rituals, more chances to hear language, use language, wait, negotiate, imagine, and calm down. That is why screen-free childhood is becoming such a powerful conversation again. Many parents can feel that something has changed. Their children may be more entertained than ever, but not always more settled. Not always more creative. Not always more patient. Not always more connected. And the science gives us a more balanced answer than the internet usually does. Screens are not poison. A video call with grandparents is not the same as endless autoplay. Watching a program together and talking about it is not the same as background TV running all day. A calm family movie night is not the same as a child scrolling alone before bed. In fact, a 2024 review and meta-analysis in JAMA Pediatrics found that the context of screen use matters. More program viewing and background television in early childhood were linked with poorer cognitive outcomes. But using screens together with another person was linked with better cognitive outcomes. So this video is not about guilt. It is about replacement. What happens when we replace some passive screen time with the experiences that build attention, emotional regulation, sleep, language, movement, and connection? That is where things get interesting. Because a child's brain is not just watching, it is adapting. A child's brain develops through repeated experiences, not perfect experiences, not expensive experiences, repeated experiences. Every day, a child's brain is asking, what should I pay attention to? How do I calm down? How do people respond to me? What happens when I wait? What happens when I move my body? What happens when I try something hard and it does not work the first time? Screens can answer some of those questions in a very specific way. Many digital experiences are fast, bright, responsive, and rewarding. A child taps and something happens. They swipe and something changes. A video ends and another one begins. A game gives points, sounds, colors, and instant feedback. The brain gets a steady stream of novelty without much effort. That is not automatically bad. But if a child gets too much of that kind of stimulation and not enough slower, real-world practice, everyday life can start to feel dull, frustrating, or too demanding. Real life asks children to wait. Blocks fall down. A friend does not share immediately. A drawing does not look right the first time. A parent is cooking and cannot respond in 2 seconds. A game has rules. A younger sibling interrupts. The child has to use words, not just a tap. These moments may look ordinary, but they are brain-building moments. This is where executive function comes in. Executive function is the set of mental skills that helps children pause, plan, remember instructions, shift attention, control impulses, and keep going when something is hard. Children are not born good at these skills. They practice them, and they practice them best in real situations. Not because screens destroy executive function, that would be too simple, but because screen-free time often creates more chances to practice executive function. A child building a blanket fort has to plan. A child making up a pretend restaurant has to remember roles. A child waiting for a turn has to control an impulse. A child playing outside has to adjust to movement, space, weather, and other people. That is the kind of brain workout no worksheet fully replaces. And here's the surprising part. Sometimes the most useful moment in a child's day is the moment they say, "I'm bored." To adults, boredom sounds like a problem. To a child's brain, boredom can be a doorway. Because when entertainment stops, the brain has to start generating. At first, that can feel uncomfortable. A child may whine. They may ask for a screen. They may follow you around. They may say there is nothing to do while standing in a room full of toys, but that discomfort is often the beginning of self-directed play. A child who is slightly bored has to ask, what can I make? Who can I pretend to be? Can this couch become a mountain? Can these boxes become a store? Can I draw something? Can I go outside? Can I invent a game? That shift matters. Screen entertainment often brings the story to the child. Pretend play asks the child to create the story. The American Academy of Pediatrics has described play as central to healthy development, including social-emotional skills, language, thinking, and self-regulation. So screen-free does not mean parents have to become full-time activity directors. A screen-free summer does not need a perfect schedule of crafts, science projects, and museum-level activities. Sometimes the best thing a parent can say is, I know boredom feels uncomfortable. Let's think of 2 choices and then you can decide. That teaches something powerful. Feelings are not emergencies. Boredom is not dangerous. The brain can create its own next step. And once a child learns that, they begin to discover something screens often hide from them. Their own imagination is interesting too. Now let's talk about one of the strongest reasons screen-free time matters: sleep. Sleep is not just rest. For children, sleep supports learning, memory, emotional regulation, growth, attention, and behavior. Many parents notice this without needing a study. A child who sleeps poorly may look more hyperactive the next day, more emotional, more impulsive, more easily frustrated, more likely to melt down over things that usually feel small. Screens can interfere with sleep in several ways. First, screens can push bedtime later. Second, exciting content can keep the nervous system activated. Third, evening screen habits can become a routine where the child's brain learns, I need this to settle. And fourth, games, notifications, autoplay, and cliffhanger videos can make stopping harder. A systematic review of screen time and sleep in young children found that screen use was associated with poor sleep outcomes, especially when screens were used daily or in the evening. So when families create screen-free evenings, they are not just taking something away. They are giving the child's nervous system a clearer landing strip. The bedtime brain needs cues: dimmer light, predictable order, a bath, pajamas, a story, a calm voice, the same small ritual repeated again and again. This is why a screen-free evening routine can be more powerful than a screen-free rule shouted at the last minute. A rule says, stop now. A routine says, your body knows what comes next. And children often regulate better when life feels predictable. Now, here is a question every parent should ask. When the screen turns off, does the child's world get bigger, or does it just get emptier? That difference is everything. If a child loses the tablet and gains nothing, the tablet becomes the most interesting thing in the house. But if the child loses the tablet and gains a bike ride, a messy art table, a backyard water game, a library trip, a cooking job, sidewalk chalk, or 10 minutes of real attention from a parent, then the brain starts learning a new equation. Offline life can be rewarding too. This is important because children do not only need less screen time, they need more life, more sensory life, more social life, more physical life, more imaginative life. The CDC recommends that school-aged children and teens get at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity each day. And physical activity supports not only fitness, but also cognition, memory, academic performance, mood, bones, muscles, and overall health. Movement is not just getting energy out. Movement gives the brain information. When children climb, jump, balance, throw, catch, dig, dance, swim, or run, they are learning how their body works in space. They are coordinating eyes, muscles, balance, timing, attention, and decision-making. A child chasing bubbles is practicing tracking. A child climbing a playground ladder is practicing planning and body awareness. A child playing tag is practicing attention, impulse control, speed adjustment, and social rules. So screen-free time changes the brain partly because it changes the body's day, and the brain is part of the body. Outdoor time deserves special attention here. Outside, children get something indoor spaces rarely provide in the same way: open-ended movement, natural light, distance vision, changing sensory input, unpredictable discovery. A child outside notices bugs, shadows, leaves, sticks, puddles, clouds, neighbors, birds, wind, and texture. That kind of environment invites curiosity. It also gives children chances to use their eyes differently. A randomized clinical trial published in JAMA studied outdoor activity among young school children in China. Researchers added 40 minutes of outdoor activity at school. After 3 years, the children in the outdoor activity group had a lower rate of myopia, or nearsightedness, compared with the control group. That study was about vision, not emotional regulation. But it reminds us of something important. Childhood biology expects outdoor time. Nature is not magic, it is not a cure-all, but for many children, outdoor time is a powerful replacement activity because it combines movement, sensory regulation, creativity, and lower-pressure attention. And it does not need to be a mountain hike. It can be a park, a sidewalk chalk area, a shared courtyard, a balcony garden, a walk after dinner, a puddle hunt, a find 5 green things game, a picnic lunch under a tree. The brain does not need luxury, it needs repetition. Here is the hidden trap. Parents often try to remove screens with logic, but children are not usually attached to screens because of logic. They are attached because screens meet needs. Screens can meet the need for novelty, the need for control, the need for escape, the need for comfort, the need for something predictable after a long day. So if we only say screens are bad, we miss the child underneath the behavior. A child melting down after screen time may not be spoiled. They may be tired. They may be overstimulated. They may be struggling with transitions. They may not know what to do next. They may be using the screen as their easiest calming tool. That is why the best screen-free plans are not just restrictive, they are supportive. Instead of saying, "No more tablet, go play," try, "Tablet time is done. First, we're going to put it on the charger, then you can choose outside chalk or building blocks. I'll help you start." The first version creates a cliff. The second version creates a bridge. Children often need help crossing from high-stimulation digital worlds into slower real-world play. That bridge can be a timer, a visual schedule, a transition song, a snack, a movement break, or a parent joining for the first 5 minutes. The goal is not to make children instantly happy when screens end. The goal is to help their nervous system learn, I can stop, I can feel frustrated, I can move into the next thing, I am safe. That is emotional regulation practice. And this is where we have a very interesting clinical trial to discuss. A 2024 paper in JAMA Network Open looked at what happened when families reduced leisure screen media use for 2 weeks. This was a secondary analysis of a randomized clinical trial. The families in the screen reduction group reduced leisure screen media use to 3 hours per week or less per person. They also handed over smartphones and tablets during the intervention. The study included children and adolescents, and after the 2-week reduction, the researchers found improvements in children's behavioral difficulties. The strongest improvements were seen in internalizing symptoms and prosocial behavior. Internalizing symptoms can include things like sadness, worry, and emotional distress turned inward. Prosocial behavior means actions like helping, sharing, and being considerate towards others. Now, this does not mean every family should copy that exact plan. 3 hours per week may be unrealistic for many households. Families differ, children differ, work schedules differ, childcare, stress, disability, and family circumstances differ. And the study was short-term, so we still need more research on long-term effects. But the study is useful because it suggests something parents have wondered for years. If we reduce leisure screens as a family, can children's emotional and social functioning improve? In this trial, over a short period, the answer was yes. There were measurable improvements. But notice the key phrase, as a family. Not just the child, not just the problem kid, the family. That matters because children learn screen habits from the whole environment. If adults are constantly checking phones at dinner, during play, during bedtime, and during conversations, children receive a message: screens are the center of attention. This is not about blaming parents. Parents are exhausted. Phones are work tools, social tools, maps, cameras, calendars, and stress relief devices. But from a child's point of view, adult phone use can feel like a competitor. A child may not say, "I need more responsive interaction." They may climb on you, interrupt you, act silly, grab the phone, whine, or give up and ask for their own screen. A screen-smart family plan is not only about limiting the child's device, it is about protecting moments of connection, meals, car rides, bedtime, outdoor play, the first 10 minutes after school, the last 10 minutes before sleep. Small protected moments can be more realistic than trying to create a perfect screen-free lifestyle. Here is a powerful reframe. The question is not, how do I keep my child busy without screens? The better question is, what skill could this moment help my child practice? A screen-free afternoon can practice patience. A board game can practice losing. Cooking can practice sequencing. Cleaning up can practice responsibility. A playground can practice courage. Pretend play can practice empathy. Reading can practice attention. Quiet time can practice being alone without panic. A family walk can practice conversation. Once parents see screen-free time this way, it stops being a punishment. It becomes a training ground for life. Let's take pretend play. When children pretend, they are not doing nothing. They are testing reality. A child pretending to be a doctor may be working through fear. A child pretending to run a store is practicing math, language, and turn-taking. A child pretending a teddy bear is sad is practicing emotional understanding. A child building a spaceship from chairs is practicing symbolic thinking. The American Academy of Pediatrics has emphasized that play supports skills such as planning, organizing, getting along with others, and regulating emotions. This is why a low-tech childhood does not have to look impressive on camera. Some of the best developmental moments look ordinary. A child making soup from leaves. A child negotiating who gets the red marker. A child turning a cardboard box into a bus. A child trying again after a tower falls. Those are not filler moments. Those are childhood. Now let's talk about a phrase parents hear constantly: educational screen time. Many parents feel safer when a screen is labeled educational, and sometimes screens can teach. High-quality content used with adult support can be useful. Co-viewing and conversation can help children connect what they see on a screen to real life. But educational does not automatically mean developmentally rich. A child can watch a video about colors for 20 minutes and still get less language practice than they would from sorting laundry with a parent who says, "This one is blue. Can you find another blue one? This sock is tiny. Daddy's sock is huge. Where should we put it?" The difference is interaction. Human interaction adjusts to the child. If the child looks confused, the adult slows down. If the child points, the adult names. If the child asks, the adult answers. If the child laughs, the adult joins. If the child says a word incorrectly, the adult gently models it back. Screens usually cannot respond with that same emotional timing. That is why screen-free time is especially powerful for young children. Language grows in back-and-forth moments, not just hearing words, using words, waiting, pointing, listening, responding, taking turns. The 2024 JAMA Pediatrics review is helpful here because it does not say all screen use is the same. It shows that context matters. Background TV and more program viewing were linked with poorer cognitive outcomes. Co-use was linked with better cognitive outcomes. So for parents, the message should not be never use screens. A better message is use screens intentionally. Avoid background screens. Protect sleep. Co-view when possible, choose quality over autoplay, and make sure screen time does not crowd out the experiences children need most. If you remember only one sentence from this video, remember this. A screen-free childhood is not about removing technology. It is about returning childhood to the child. That means children need time that is not optimized, monetized, interrupted, or constantly entertaining. They need time to wander inside their own thoughts. They need adults who can tolerate a little boredom, a little mess, and a little slow progress. They need family rituals that say, this is what we do together. Family rituals do not need to be complicated. Pancakes on Saturday, a walk after dinner, library day, Friday board game night, Sunday meal prep, watering plants, reading before bed, music while cleaning, a summer jar of activity ideas. Routines help children because they make life predictable. Predictability lowers the emotional load. When a child knows what comes next, the brain does not have to work as hard to scan for uncertainty. That can make transitions easier, cooperation easier, and sleep easier. But again, we should stay honest. A bedtime routine is not a magic spell. Outdoor play is not therapy by itself. Pretend play does not solve every problem. Reducing screen time will not automatically fix sleep, anxiety, attention, or behavior. But these habits create the conditions where regulation is easier to practice. And practice matters. So what does a realistic screen-free or low-screen summer actually look like? It does not need to be extreme. For many families, the best plan is not zero screens. It is screens with boundaries and real life as the priority. Start by protecting anchor points. No screens during meals. No screens in bedrooms overnight. No screens during the first stretch after waking. No screens during the final stretch before bedtime. These 4 changes protect connection, sleep, and morning regulation. Next, create predictable screen windows. Children often handle limits better when they know when screens are allowed. Random access creates more asking, more negotiating, and more conflict. A predictable window might be after outdoor time, after lunch, only on weekends, only for family movie night, or 30 minutes after chores and reading. The exact rule matters less than consistency. Then build a replacement menu. Do not wait until the child is dysregulated to invent activities. Make a simple list with categories. Move, create, help, connect, quiet, explore. Move could mean scooter, dance, playground, or obstacle course. Create could mean drawing, clay, cardboard, or music. Help could mean cooking, watering plants, or folding towels. Connect could mean a board game, calling a grandparent, or playing catch. Quiet could mean books, puzzles, an audiobook, or a rest corner. Explore could mean a park, bugs, leaves, a library, or a neighborhood walk. And then expect some adjustment. A child who is used to fast stimulation may complain when life slows down. That does not mean the plan is failing. It may mean the brain is relearning how to settle into slower rewards. Start small. A full screen-free summer may feel impossible, but a screen-free morning may be possible. A screen-free dinner hour may be possible. A screen-free Sunday may be possible. A screen-free bedtime routine may be possible. Small, repeated changes beat dramatic rules that collapse after 3 days. And if your child has intense meltdowns, major sleep problems, developmental delays, anxiety, attention concerns, or behavior that feels unsafe or overwhelming, screen limits alone are not the whole answer. That is a good time to speak with a pediatrician, a licensed therapist, a speech-language pathologist, an occupational therapist, or another qualified professional depending on the concern. Screens may be part of the picture, but they are rarely the whole picture. So, does screen-free time change your child's brain? In the honest scientific sense, it changes the inputs, and changing the inputs changes what the child practices. Less autoplay can mean more sleep. Less background TV can mean more focused play. Less scrolling can mean more movement. Less solo screen time can mean more conversation. Less digital novelty can mean more imagination. Less constant entertainment can mean more tolerance for boredom. Less phone distraction can mean more family connection. That is the real promise of a screen-smart childhood. Not perfection, not guilt, not fear. Just more room for the things childhood has always needed. A child does not need an expensive summer. A child does not need a perfect parent. A child does not need every hour planned. A child needs repeated chances to move, play, imagine, connect, rest, and try again. And sometimes the most powerful parenting move is not adding another activity. It is creating enough quiet space for childhood to happen. This content is for education only and is not a diagnosis or medical advice. If you are worried about a child's development, behavior, sleep, or emotional health, speak with a qualified pediatrician or licensed professional. If this helped, share it with another parent who is trying to make screen time feel less stressful. And tell me in the comments, what is one screen-free activity your child actually enjoys? Your idea might help another family. For more evidence-based videos on child psychology and development, subscribe to the channel. Here we explain children with science, warmth, and no shame.